Hi guys and welcome back. Censorship has become quite the big issue within gaming as Valve has decided to pull adult-only games from Steam as it tightens its rules to appease payment processors. If you wonder specifically what rule change this might have been, it is this one. Content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers, in particularly certain kind of adult-only games, has led to a massive amount of games being removed from Steam. Now, if you're wondering how many exactly, I couldn't give you an answer. However, I can tell you it is quite a few, as you can see here. All the games with the little red line on them with red text have been retired from the Steam store. Now, it is one thing that it's adult-only games, but of course censorship is a slippery slope, and we'll get into that later. But Steam wasn't the only storefront that was being hit by this censorship list, as itch.io has also been hit by the same censorship. Essentially, itch.io has de-indexed all adult NSFW content from their browsers and search pages. This is because of a group known as Collective Shout. So, who is Collective Shout exactly, and what do they stand for? Now, when we look at Collective Shout's website under the About Us section, we can see that they are grassroots campaigns movement against the objectification of women and sexualization of girls in media, advertising, and popular culture. Their mission is to bring about cultural change and societal transformation through holding corporations, advertisers, marketers, and media accountable for the objectification of women and sexualization of girls. Their vision is to see a world free of sexploitation. And I think that is pretty good. I think we can all agree that that is pretty good. Now, you might be wondering, what are some of the other things Collective Shout has done over the time? Well, one of them is defend the movie Cuties while lying and attacking Detroit Become Human. Essentially, they made a petition to get Detroit Become Human removed from store shelves in Australia. And to very quickly boil it down, essentially it involves all of the bad scenes with the dead that you can get in the game. I have not myself played Detroit Become Human. I did, however, watch the scenes that they were talking about. And the real big thing here is allowing people to explore complex themes in media. That is what they're trying to stop here. And you can clearly see it right here. Games like this are worse than films. They are immersive and involves young people in the act of violence. And here is the very, very simple reality of it. Detroit Become Human isn't gonna include anybody into anything violent. It is not a game about violence. It is not a game that encourages you to get the bad choice or to get the dad to beat the child. It is very much not that. The very best choice in that game, in that specific scene, is the housekeeper running away with the child on a bus to get away from the abusive dad, to remove her from the abuse. And here's the reality. We should be able to talk about these very complex, very deep things within media. It is one of the things I think is so great about games. They are immersive. They give a much better, much more compelling look into these issues than other media, exactly because you end up being immersed into what you are doing. You feel extra bad because you know you can stop the abuse. So things like this completely drops any form of nuance when it comes to the media. And it blows my mind that we still have to have these discussions. Now, if you just think this is some no-nonsense stupid thing, Collective Shout has managed to do things before. As an example, Collective Shout were the people behind getting GTA 5 removed from store shelves, specifically in Target and Kmart, over this, where you can see the player having murdered a woman with an axe. And the entire thing is that they call GTA a violent game where it encourages players to murder women for entertainment. The initiative is to commit sexual violence against women. What? I'm sorry. I have played it and I have yet to find that. Then abuse or kill them to proceed to get health points. Like, this is straight up a lie. There's no other ways to put it. You do not run around murdering random people, and especially not exclusively women in GTA 5, to get HP points. I feel like, again, it lacks any form of nuance. And this blows my fucking mind because one of the directors for Collective Shout defended cuties. Because in this post itself, they mention if Cutie really does seriously critique the way many girls have been indoctrinated from birth into a false idea that adopts a pornified role and behavior is freeing, maybe it could help contribute to amend these serious and destructive cultural norms. And yeah, that is a real fucking issue. And there's clear, you can understand nuance. You are not blinded by that. Why the fuck does this nuance not exist within the gaming space? Why is it exclusive here? Because cuties, if it didn't use child actors, would have a good message. I am not arguing that it doesn't. What I am saying is that the real exploitation of children which cuties did is bad. And it is obviously bad. And it is indefensibly bad. And I don't understand why this nuance doesn't exist anywhere else. This is my sort of problem with campaigns such as the Collective Shout one. That is, that they do these things. Now you might be wondering, well, how do they get Steam to pull out games? That makes no sense. Well, to put it very bluntly, they don't target Steam, they target their payment processors. So in their open letter, they specifically mention PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, PaySafe, Discover, Japan's Credit Bureau. For all of these things, this is their goal. They're targeting the people who has the money and who sort of facilitates the transactions. Because when you target those people, you can get virtually anything through. If you make enough noise with a brand that cares about its image like Visa or MasterCard, they can just shut down sales for a platform. And that is exactly what was happening with Steam. Essentially, it was about a game called No Mercy, which did perform a man unconsensually engaging in adult activities with women, including his own mom and sister. And it is really disgusting. And if it was only about these games, I wouldn't really care. The issue is when you censor something, when you go that far and we are going to those tactics, it isn't a far step to see them censor other things. We have already seen Collective Shout try to censor good games that display these adult subjects in a good form. And that is one of those things where you have to sit there and think to yourself, when are they gonna do that again? I can guarantee you, Collective Shout will try again with GTA 6. They did with GTA 5. They now know that they can sort of achieve something through the payment processors. They also tried with Detroit Become Human. And it is one of those questions where why did you sort of attack those games? They didn't do shit wrong. None of those really, in an unnuanced way, showed any of these subject matters. And that is where the question becomes a real big scary thing. Because once you target something like that, it is a slippery slope. Don't believe me? I'll show you some examples. Now, to set the stage for you, we'll have to do a little bit of time traveling, specifically back to 2016, where China banned the depiction of gay people on television, specifically as a part of the crackdown on vulgar, immoral, and unhealthy content. This was banned alongside adultery, showing cleavage, and reincarnation. Now, that led to, in 2021, a bunch of LGBT plus accounts getting removed from WeChat, and WeChat being a WhatsApp equivalent for Chinese people, they got removed from it. Now, that is despite the fact that in China it is not criminal to be homosexual. That is fine. So, in 2023, a bunch of LGBT groups were pushed into the shadows along with the Pride events. Now, they were not officially banned, they were just discouraged, and people were fearing because of the previous years of crackdowns on homosexuality. Now, that led to, in 2025, where there was actual reasons to be scared over these things, as police would detain a dozen writers over gay erotica novels online. These were all novels that were written online and specifically made by straight women for straight women. And these novels were deemed vulgar and immoral, and they were essentially, well, illegalized. They weren't legal to have anymore. So it was a crackdown on a bunch of people who produced these things. Now, one other thing that we have to discuss is the Online Safety Act, that was passed in the UK in 2023, which, as of the 25th of July 2025, means that platforms have a legal duty to protect children online. Platforms are now required to use highly effective age assurance to prevent children from accessing adult content or content that could encourage self harm, suicide, or eating disorders. Platform must also prevent children from accessing other harmful and age inappropriate content such as bullying, hateful content, and content which encourages dangerous stunts. Now, here's the thing. I can agree that we should protect the children. I agree. However, a lot of these things are very vaguely worded, and that means that they can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And a lot of people are fearing for censorship, as there's already been platforms where you need ID to sign in, meaning that you need to hand out your ID to some online third party platform to allow you to sign into your profiles. That is a little bit scary. I'm not a big fan of that at all. And of course, with the wording with things such as bullying, hateful content, content which encourages dangerous stunts, what does any of that mean? You could argue that in a game like Destiny, I could do stunts on my sparrows and I can bully other people in the game. Does that mean it's a harmful, hateful game that encourages children to do dangerous stunts? I wouldn't exactly say so, but you can see how these sort of things could lead to even more crackdowns on even more content. And it has already slowly started to happen, with things like Xbox requiring age verification in the UK. And furthermore, we have to talk about the fact that the Labour Party of the UK wants to have a crackdown on VPNs, as VPNs was a way to bypass these circumstances, as you could use a VPN to make it seem like you're from some other country, right? And here's the thing. These are the reasons why I want to make this video. I believe that the internet should be free. I believe that you should have your own right of expression. And that is exactly what makes the internet so beautiful. It is a place where you can actually go to get people's actual opinions, almost unfiltered. I think it is a good thing to not have any sort of force being put into it by the law. I don't like to have censorship all over my internet platforms. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think a lot of people like that. I don't think we should be cracking down on things that might be quote unquote hateful when it isn't being described more clearly what that means. We shouldn't be running around with doing hate crimes or anything like that. But what is hateful really? Is GTA too hateful? You have certainly seen the comments talking about that before. It wouldn't be the first time that they call a GTA game too hateful. Is Dead Space too much? Is Destiny too much? What is the sort of lengths we could go here? It is why censorship is so scary. And this is exactly why it's something that worries me and also something that I wanted to talk about here today. But quick update from the future. As I was going to bed yesterday, I ended up scrolling Twitter a little bit and I ended up finding this thread. It's about a game called Exhumed on Steam, a game that used to be on Steam, it isn't anymore. It's a horror game that uses gore in storytelling and it has violent themes, which it wasn't banned for. However, it was banned off Steam for sexual content with depictions of real people, which if you have played it, you know it is all implied, making this all the worse. This is the sort of censorship I'm talking about, where it is only an implication, there isn't actually anything in the grounds for censoring it, but it will be censored anyway because some people could deem it offensive. This is the sort of thing I could be worried about happening more and more now. And it's important to push back against these things when we see it, in my opinion. We shouldn't be bending our knees to censorship. Anyway, I'll let you get back to the video. I don't have a lot more to talk about. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I've left a shit ton of articles that I've used in the description below. You can go through them as you please. I've also linked to Collective Shout's website and the Facebook post about cuties and also the everything else I've talked about here, which has been quite a lot, of course. I hope that you'll go and do your own reading. Of course, I always encourage doing your own research over just repeating what I say verbatim. And on top of that, I have decided to link a video from a quite large creator that you might have seen, maybe not. That's also about this sort of censorship issue that I have found really helpful in going through all of these things. Or rather, I find really interesting to just listen to too. I think it is something that we should care about, and it's something that's important to care about. Now, with all of that being said, it's important to remember that the real issue here is how fast payment processing companies curve the knee. Yoko Taro, the guy behind Nier, put it like this, and I like it quite a lot. It implies that by controlling payment processing companies, you can even censor another country's free speech. I feel like it's not just a matter of censoring adult content or jeopardizing freedom of expression, but rather a security hole that endangers democracy itself. I think he hit the nail on the head right there. It is right on the money. Because by controlling the payment processors, you can virtually shut down any form of expression or free speech, period. And that is the real fucking issue here. And it's something to remember, and it's something that I think personally is pretty scary. Now, with all of that said, I do hope that you enjoyed the video. And if you did, thank you. And I hope you have a wonderful day ahead of you. I'll see you all later.